Welcome to this brand new weekly program on the Eagle Online, Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. My name is Dotun Oladipo. I'm the managing editor of the Eagle Online, an online newspaper operating at www.theeagleonline.com.ng. We have been in operation for over 10 years, and our coverage spans every sector of life, including business, economy, sports, life and style, world news, and of course, politics. On this program, we may not always be right or share the same opinion, but we will always strive to project the truth as it is. And where we err, we will be courageous to admit it. Our focus is for the betterment of the society. Now to the package for this week. The news in town has been the primaries of political parties for the 2023 election. This has dominated the political atmosphere in the country. We shall be looking at various spheres of these primaries, their import, their impact on what becomes of the 2023 elections and the future of Nigeria. Let's start with the legislative primaries, as conducted by the two dominant political parties in the country. That is talking about the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress. The world over, apart from the civil service, which has been described as the engine room of democracy, the legislature is regarded as very crucial to the thriving and success of democracy, which is why a lot of the countries that are doing quite well economically and politically have men of character and experience in their legislature. But in Nigeria, this appears not to be the case. What we have always had virtually every 4 years, especially in the 8 years where you have majority of the governors at the state levels completing their two-term tenure, has been a virtual overhaul and change in the legislature, especially at the federal level, involving the Senate specifically. This year, for instance, 17 governors are leaving their seats after completing their tenure. And based on the facts on ground from both major political parties, virtually all of these governors have picked forms. That is the expression of interest and nomination forms to go to the Senate. And what this means essentially is that we are going to have a complete change of government in those states in the Senate. And the fear usually is you can't buy experience when it comes to legislative matters. Let's take a look at what has happened in some of the primaries we have had. A ranking senator from Ondo State, Ayo Akinyelure, lost the PDP primaries to somebody who has not his kind of experience in legislative matters. And why did he lose? According to the senator, he lost because a former governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, had interest in someone else going to the Senate. Before we go into others, maybe we should stress what it means being at that kind of top level in the Senate or the legislature generally, by using an example from the US, United States of America, where we have taken some parts of our democratic processes. In the United States House of Representatives, we've had very, very experienced legislators who have risen over time to become institutions in that level of governance. For instance, Nancy Pelosi, who is the House of Reps, has been there since 1987. She has not even made a move to go to the Senate. On the average, anyway, the US House of Reps has lawmakers who have over 80 years experience. None has less than that. Close to 10 years they have. And that's about 4.5 terms. But Pelosi has been there since 1987. The US Senate has an average of 11 years legislative experience. That is almost 2 years of Senate terms. At the beginning of the 117th Congress of the United States legislature, the longest serving senator was credited to be Robert Byrd, who was there for 47 years plus. He indeed served for 51 years, 5 months, and 26 days. And why is this stress on experience in the legislature? It is because for you to be able to make an impact in the legislature, you must be experienced. At some point in the life of this legislature in Nigeria, the president of the Senate, who is also the chairman of the National Assembly, Dr. Ahmad Lawan, complained very bitterly that senators were presenting bills that could not be debated because they were flawed in all ramifications. And as such, what it means is, once we do away with these legislators, we have to start building again. We have to invest in training. We have to send these legislators out for training. We have to train them locally. It's just like we training our soldiers, like we did at some point, and allowing them to go in their prime. We have sent them to Sandals, we have sent them to the War College in the US, to so many places, and then we allow those soldiers to go. That's the kind of investment that we make in our legislators, and then we allow them, owing to politicking and greed, sheer greed, of not wanting to leave political offices for people who are going to be rookies to take over. Coming back to the primaries, for instance, the Taraba state governor and his deputy, that's the incumbent, both of them have their tickets to go to the Senate now, as we speak. There are other governors now who are campaigning, for instance, to become president and the rest. But reports have it that some of them already have their senatorial forms filled out, so that if they fail, they go to the Senate. Also in Ondo State, using the same example, we have a former deputy governor who has defeated a sitting senator going to politicking when we could have quality representative for that state. The Senate president, as we all will be aware, is already campaigning to become the president of the country. He's one of the most experienced senators in that chamber. He has 20 years experience. So for Ahmad Lawan, it will be almost 20 years of wasted legislative experience when he moves to the presidency. He could, in my own thinking, have stayed on in that chamber and contributed more to the growth of the country through his experience in the legislature. Nothing bad in his decision to go for the presidency. But what this means essentially is that we are losing him and his experience to become the president. It was the same that happened with David Mark. Senator David Mark, as you will all recall, was the Senate president for two terms. And then he came back into the chamber, all because of the politicking involved, and owing to his inability to retain his seat as the president of the Senate, he became quiet in the chamber, and ultimately he left, meaning that Nigeria lost 16 years of legislative experience because we want to play politics. It's a dangerous game as we go ahead, losing experience to politicking. In this wise, we are not talking of senators who have contributed virtually nothing to the system. And for those who are already whispering and mentioning names like Dino Milaye and the dancing senator from Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, they may not be far from those kind of people that are not befitting of the Senate. But we are talking of people who have come far in this process. And as mentioned earlier, if we have as many as 10, 15 governors coming into that Senate, what it means is that we're having 15 rookies who are coming to learn the ropes. And unfortunately, what we have seen over the years is that when these governors, when they get into the chamber, they pay more attention to things that are happening in their states. They do the local politicking. They want, again, to pull up. Some want to become ministers. And we have seen in this case, again, the case of the national chairman of the APC now, Abdullahi Adamu, who has gone on to become the national chairman of the party. A lot of these governors who are in the chambers now, in the Senate, because they obviously think the House of Reps is too low for them to start their legislative journey. A lot of them in the Senate are making little or no contribution. In so many years now, the only exception one can make is that of the Senate Chief Whip, that's Ojiuzo Okalu, who was governor of Abia State for 8 years and who is now in the Senate. He has given us hope that perhaps some of these former governors can perform. But do they? No, they don't. What they do is to face squarely the local politics of their state and then begin to peep from the chamber into what they could do at the national level. The Senate can be better. The House of Reps can be better. But we need quality men who, like it happened in the United States of America when Bill Clinton ran into the Lewinsky scandal, look into the president's face and tell him you are impeached, even if he's not removed from office. Now moving to the presidential primaries. A lot of issues have been raised about the way and manner presidential candidates emerge, and with some of them switching allegiance from one party to the other. Top on the list that we have seen of recent is the case of the former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, who left the People's Democratic Party for the Labour Party. In between that movement, there was a suspicion that Peter Obi was going to go with the New Nigeria People's Party, which is headed by the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso. And then there have been issues surrounding it. Why are politicians behaving like adults? People who do not owe allegiance to a particular party. And then there have been those who have said, see, what Nigeria needs at this time are men who can deliver on what Nigerians want and not the vessel or the party that takes them to that position. A lot of Nigerians may not be aware of the background of Peter Obi when it comes to politics. Many people knew him as governor on the platform of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. However, Peter Obi's political journey started from the People's Democratic Party. It was at some point when he saw that the PDP, as it was constituted in Anambra State, with a lot of infighting and a lot of money bags, capable of maneuvering and manipulating the system, that is settled for the All Progressives Grand Alliance. And that was the party that took him into power. So, the big question remains: was Peter Obi able to deliver on his mandate and as governor of Anambra State or not, based on his switching political allegiance? Many have answered it in the positive, that Peter Obi did well, extremely well, as Anambra State governor. And one of the high points of his government was the fact that he left over 75 billion naira in the account of the state and was not owing any contractor, civil servant, retirees, or any other person when he left government. So the debate now is, should Nigerians, or indeed our politicians, be tied to a single political party? For me, the answer is a no-no. What we should be looking for, and which is why I have always canvassed for independent candidacy, are good men, men who can deliver, men who live by their words, men who know the exact needs of Nigerians. Some people have come up with the argument that the way Nigeria is now, what we need, or who we need as president, is somebody who understands perfectly the economy. They have termed such a person a trader, not the textbook economist, not running Nigeria based on paperwork, but the actual reality on ground. And they have described such a person as a trader, somebody who has a capable understanding. Added to that is a person with a lot of human milk flowing inside of him. And that accounted for why, as we were told by insiders, the Labour Party worked strenuously to move Peter Obi into its fold. Even the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, has commended the leadership of the party for achieving such grand politicking in a way that jolted so many Nigerians. This is because a lot of people are able to relate with Peter Obi based on his understanding of how to run the economy. They have also been able to relate with him based on his continuous support, even when outside of office, to schools and hospitals. Since leaving office, he has visited over 100 schools and hospitals, and the least he has donated has been 1 million naira each. The Labour Party is hoping that when Peter Obi comes into power, he will be able to replicate what he did in Anambra State at the national level, making Nigerians and Nigeria marketable again to the international community. As for the PDP, we just saw the emergence of our former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, as the presidential candidate of the party. There have been talks here and there about the monetization of the process. This has always been the hallmark of the PDP. Even when officially we are made to believe that we Nigerians are made to believe that the delegates were actually spoken to and they decided on who to vote for. We've seen a lot of crisscrossing across the country by all the candidates, especially Atiku Abubakar and the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. Wike may have his strong points, especially when we consider the fact that the difference in number of votes between himself and Atiku Abubakar was less than 150 at the primaries. It's always been a clear margin victory in such primaries in the past, showing that he was indeed a very strong contender. But he had a lot of minuses going for him. And that's where I'm sure the party would have thought very deeply about those shortcomings. The North especially will not have confidence in Nyesom Wike, who has always spoken garrulously and without caution on so many issues. And that's why they would rather settle for an Atiku Abubakar, who is one of their own, and they are very sure will protect their interests. So for the PDP, it was a matter of trying to avoid Nyesom Wike injuring the party at the general election. Because at the primaries, it's just a matter within the party. But at the general election, it's Nigerians who are voting. And as we stand, based on records, the North has more voters than the South does. So it's a matter of thinking through what the party stands to gain and stands to lose in settling for an Atiku Abubakar. The APC is screening its presidential candidates, or aspirants, sorry, as we record this. The screening of the aspirants is going on in Abuja with this panel led by former chairman of the party, John Odigwe. As at yesterday, it had screened 12 of them and will today, May 31, screen the others, including Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. A lot of people have narrowed the race in the APC to two contenders, and that's the former governor of Lagos State and national leader of the party, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. How this plays out, we'll wait to see. But some are of very strong opinion that President Muhammadu Buhari will insist on consensus in order not to disrupt the seeming peace in the party, which a lot of Nigerians know is a fact. And the question has been asked, if President Muhammadu Buhari does not intervene and insist on consensus, who is likely among these contenders to emerge as the party's candidate? We've also narrowed it down. And a lot of people are already speaking about the national leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, and former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi. Whichever way it goes, The presidential primaries is almost here. But the opinion is that at the end of the day, it will be a battle between father and son. That is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the vice president. You can contribute to this program in two ways. One, do us a video of not more than 2 minutes. And two, an email of not more than 500 words sent to info@theeagleonline.com.ng. Again, info@theeagleonline.com.ng with the subject, Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. These contributions should be civil and non-combative. Make your point, and then we can keep the debate going. Thank you, and see you in our next edition.